Have you ever wondered what happens when the cameras stop rolling? I mean, really stop rolling? Let us talk about something that sends a shiver down the spine of even the most seasoned television producers. It is a story that has been whispered about in green rooms and control booths for over 2 decades. This is a story of Caleb Rowe, a late-night legend whose final broadcast wasn't his last. Back in the 90s, Caleb Rowe was the king of late-night television. His wit, his charm, his infectious laugh, people couldn't get enough of him. His show, Late Night with Caleb, was a ratings giant. Every night, millions tuned in to see who he'd be interviewing, what jokes he'd crack. He was a fixture in people's homes, a familiar voice that lulled America to sleep. Then, in 1999, it all came to a sudden, shocking end. Caleb Rowe passed away unexpectedly. The lights of his studio, once so bright, went dark. The network aired tributes, celebrity guests shared their fondest memories, and the world mourned a star who was gone too soon. The show was cancelled, the set was scheduled to be dismantled, and that should have been the end of the story, but it wasn't. In the weeks following his death, a team of editors was tasked with the somber job of going through the archives, reviewing hours upon hours of unaired footage and raw tapes. It was a standard procedure, meant to wrap up production and catalog material for the network's library. They were working late one evening in a quiet, sterile editing bay. The studio next door was dark and empty, a ghost of its former vibrant self. As one of the editors queued up a tape from Caleb's final, unaired week, they noticed something strange. The tape was supposed to be silent. It was hoosed B-roll footage of the empty set after the audience had gone home. But the audio levels were flickering. Confused, they turned up the volume. At first, all they could hear was the low hum of the studio equipment. But then, a sound emerged that made the hair on their arms stand up. It was breathing. Faint, but undeniably there. It was coming from Caleb's microphone, the one that always sat on his iconic desk, the one that had been switched off hours before this footage was shot. They listened, frozen, as the faint breathing continued. And then came something else. Something that turned their blood to ice. Quiet laughter. It was a low, familiar chuckle. It was Caleb's laugh. Not the big boom and laugh the audience knew, but a more subtle, private one, as if he were enjoying a secret joke. The editors looked at each other, their faces pale in the glow of the monitors. Was this a prank? A technical glitch? They rewound the tape and played it again. Same thing. The breathing, the laughter, all coming from a dead man's microphone in an empty room. They kept listening, compelled by a mixture of terror and morbid curiosity. And that's when they heard the whisper. A clear, sibilant voice, coming through the speakers, right from Caleb's mic. It said, "We're still live." Just those 3 words, "We're still live." The team said that as the whisper played, a strange smell filled the editing bay, the scent of warm electronics, like a TV set that's been on for too long. Needless to say, they were terrified. They reported it to the network executives immediately. What happened next is the stuff of corporate legend and conspiracy. Officially, the network declared the tapes magnetically corrupted and ordered their immediate destruction. They were wiped, degaussed, and physically shredded. The official story was that it was all just a technical malfunction, a weird audio bleed from another source. But the crew members who were there that night, the ones who heard it with their own ears, they tell a different story. They say the tapes were destroyed to cover up something they couldn't explain. Years have passed. The studio that once housed Late Night with Caleb is now home to a different show. New hosts, new sets, new audiences, but the whispers from the old crew persist. They say that if you're ever in that studio, late at night after everyone has gone home and the building is silent, sometimes you can still hear things. They say that in the dead air between broadcasts, a laugh track will sometimes play on its own. It's not a generic, canned sound. It's one man's laugh, echoing in the empty space. It's always his laugh. The legend of Caleb Rowe lives on, not in reruns, but in the chilling quiet of Studio 6B. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? When the red light goes off, are we ever truly off the air? Are we live right now? Thanks for watching. If you love stories that blur the line between reality and the unexplained, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You'll never know what we'll be broadcasting next.